Gentlemen, we have Joseph Lee right here live on WSAN radio with the Impact Hour. Joseph will be with us for, let me cut up the other line so everybody can hear you. Joseph will be with us until he said he don't want to be with us. But it's a wealth of knowledge right here that's going on with Joseph. We talk off air a lot about situations, and we get to start talking. And we should have had a show while we were talking, because we be bringing up some stuff that we kind of sort of forget about when it comes down to the show right here. One thing, I hate to say I told you so, but I'm gonna say it anyway. I said about 3 or 4 months ago there would be a teacher shortage because of what's going on, and I talked to several teachers already, and one district is going to be short 50 teachers already when the school year starts. 50. A lot of them retired early, and some of the reasons they gave were of course the pandemic, teaching from home and all that, and then the shootings came up, and then they started talking about how they want us to do everything but teach, and they said enough is enough. And I feel them because I taught a little bit at one time in the 90s for about 4 years, and the salary is not that good, especially Texas. I think Texas is one of the states that is the lowest pay for teachers, and they are just at wits' ends. They don't know what to do anymore. I mean, I talked to some, honestly, Joseph. They said they're looking for another job. They're going back teaching. If they find another job, they're out.
It's really sad, and I think you hit the nail right on the head that we expect way too much from our teachers, and the pay is very substandard. But you don't go into education for the pay, right? But at the same time, you should be able to provide, for your family. I know of districts where unfortunately teachers have had to go on food stamps, because of their pay, or even being eligible for food stamps because of the teacher pay. I think is a sin and a shame, and considering how important the job is, right? For educating our future. And most teachers go out of pocket, so even with that limited pay, most teachers go out of pocket for some supplies, some things that they need to reach out and help other kids, especially in at-risk environments or low socioeconomic areas. That the great teachers are coming out of pocket. Now, my grandmother was a teacher. She spent a lot of money on supplies and helping other kids out and things of that nature. And that was just kind of the norm. So it's just really tragic. And then they expect for them to be possibly law enforcement in the school too. I think it's just, I think it's overwhelming, But I do want to say this before we get going. I just want to commend you and congratulate you for pulling off an amazing Christmas in July in Uvalde. I mean, it just really warmed my heart to see those pictures. I think that everybody should go on the site or go wherever you have the pictures of that, and really just to be a beacon of light in a very dark situation, for those kids. It really helps, I think, facilitate the grieving process. And I know you shared with me, even one of the moms hadn't come out until she had an opportunity to come out and get a gift for some of her other children who had lost a child in those shootings. So, man, I think you did an amazing job. I wish you had an applause button or something, for going out and helping in this horrific tragedy. And I'm actually going to be talking to the Texas. Let me make sure I get this name right, because I got an award from them back here. But the Texas Caucus of Black board members here, and talking about some of those same issues here next week about how we can help protect schools from active shooting situations, talking about awareness, talking about how to kind of, get into social media, be in the FBI, CIA, talking about school protocols, making sure they know what to do when a child has homicidal ideation, suicidal ideation. and presents with that. And what are the making sure that teachers, administrators, everybody knows the protocol when a child presents, as that child did or that adult did actually in Uvalde, when with letters, pictures, and I think there's a mom here recently that turned her son in, right?
Yes,
Who
yes.
had threatened to kill her and then kill some people at the school. And I think that's going to be the standard. I think we're going to have some incentives, some things for parents that are willing to do the tough job of protecting other kids, including her own child in those situations. But again, just a congratulations for what you did in Uvalde, with the kids at Christmas in July. I think it was an excellent idea. And I can't say enough, man. That's very important to help these kids move on and have some joy in this situation. Yeah.
Well, I gotta give hands out to JD and Bridget Dickens, who has All God Kids, a organization, a nonprofit here in San Antonio, and they do this every year for the community of San Antonio.
Wow.
And I give my hats off to them for pulling this off. And I am blessed they invited me to come down there. Now I told them they're stuck with me now. Anything they do, I'm gonna shadow them. But one thing before we move on to that, I want to let everybody know that their warehouse is depleted now. Things that they had saved for Christmas here in our community, they gave everything away down there in Uvalde. So they're doing another fund drive. Also to collect more toys and everything. So if you're out there listening, it's All God's Kids. Just Google that. You'll find it, Facebook it, they're there, and they'll let you know how to donate toys. And this is the first time they said they gave away bikes, because bikes are hard to give away here, because some people want this bike and that bike, but they did bikes this time around, which you should have seen the joy on the kids' faces when they received the bikes. And they had hoverboards, they had everything there. It was beautiful. So my hats off is to All God's Kids, to JD and Bridget Dickens for pulling this off.
Outstanding. So you guys definitely are Santa's helpers with this. So, just definitely a bright light in that horrible situation. And hopefully people can start that long journey of healing and grief, and the kids, kind of can move forward. So, hats off to you guys for that. So.
And a little sidebar from that is the city council there in Uvalde, they voted to raise the age to 21 years old. Now they voted themselves. Now they're sending this all up to Greg Abbott. So now it's up to him to do a special session. So yeah, I know. So they spoke down there. They're tired. I really do believe that this is a watershed moment, because we had all the other shootings going on, but this one to me hit close to home. And for them to dilly-dally around and start pointing fingers and nobody want to tell the truth. First of all, he never should have went down there. I'm talking about Governor Abbott. He never should have went down there and went on TV and started spilling things without knowing the full story. So now he's turning around and said, well, nobody never told me this. You should have waited till you got the information before you said anything. To me, that was just a photo op for him. I'm being real. That's a photo op. So now you have families down there that's financially strapped. They were promised this and promised that. It never went through. All the stuff they're doing down there was theater, and being down there, you could see the hurt on people's faces. So they need to get off their butts and quit pointing fingers at each other. And that's the problem. Nobody will take it. I mean, one parent said, if they just said that they're sorry they didn't do a good job, he said it goes a long ways. They don't even want to say they're sorry.
Yeah.
Well,
we've got a lot of non-accountability in government, now, to just kind of talk about that at the national level, at the local level. And it's kind of that narrative that we've talked about, right? Where, our politicians, and in this case, they've got footage, and I can't watch that footage, man, about, seeing them just sitting there, and knowing that this was going on. I don't know how the communication got mixed up, or, but when you're in a fight or flight situation, I mean, that's what they train for, right? So that they, being in the military, we train and we train and we train so that when something like that happens, it's automatic, it's instinct. You rush in. So I think this is going to be a watershed moment for a lot of things, not just for hopefully gun control, but also for law enforcement and how we deal with situations and hopefully be even proactive. I shared this with you, and it just kind of shocked me. I went to a store the other day. I'm not going to say the name of the store on the air, but they had M15s and M16s in the store. Well, they had M15s and rifles and all that. And one of the M15s caught my eye because it had a suppressor on it. And I was like, okay, why would this M15 have a suppressor on it, right? So I asked the person who was working there, about the guns or whatever, and we got to the M15. I said, hey, it looks like that's got a suppressor, and she was so excited to tell me about this suppressor that actually had all the tracking information erased off of it.
Really?
So come on, man. What's the point of selling a military grade weapon with a silencer to the general public, right? So we got a lot of work to do, man. The mindset, just our love affair with guns and military grade weapons, and I can't really think of a legal reason that you would need a silencer on an M15. And to sell that in the general public. I could have walked out of there with that. And they didn't know, I mean, obviously I have a great record and I don't have any mental health, things on file, but still, it just kind of gave me a creepy feeling,
Yeah.
that could happen. And I think in some states that probably would be a felony to even have those two things, together. I'd have to check law. I think where my practice is in Michigan, I think you can't even have a silencer on the gun without it being, a legal issue, right? But we just gotta start using some more common sense and really think about what in the world we're doing and why we need to be so armed. But then again, we had that situation in Indiana, right, where the civilians actually, took out the active shooter, right?
Yeah.
I don't think they needed a silencer.
Yeah.
When they took them out, right? And that happened here in San Antonio at the mall on the south side. And they took them out, and then since then there hasn't been a robbery or anything in that mall. So I think the message is clear. We're going to have to be harder targets. We're going to have to be trained in maybe some counterterrorism, tactics. SWAT team, excuse me, is going to have to maybe train. I know when I was teaching in Florida, we had the SWAT team after Columbine come to the school in the summer and kind of prepare in case there is an active shooter, to know what to do in case there is a situation. They don't want to have to think about it, right? So, it's going to be reflexive. I think that's where we're going to be headed.
Well, just like that active shooter, it was at that church in California. They rushed him.
Yeah.
Yeah. They said no. They rushed him. You're gonna
Yeah.
see a lot more people taking matters to their own hands at that situation when it happens, because they're not going to wait anymore. They say we're not going to wait for officials to show up. If we could take them out, we're going to take them out. And I hate saying that because it's vigilante right there, but
Well, I mean, I don't have the numbers in front of me right now, but with the hundreds of active shooter situations we've had in this country, I think it was like over 500, just this year.
yes.
Right. Something's got to give. And I think, educating folks on how to be aware of somebody's presenting with suicidal, homicidal ideation, recognizing the pattern of the type of individual that does these type of things. There is seem to be some commonalities, if that's a word, of what these folks are doing and what they're going through before they present with these homicidal or suicidal ideation type things. And I don't want to say suicidal ideation; it's more homicidal ideation that I think you have to be kind of aware of. And when these kids are, or young adults are presenting with this stuff, putting it on social media, we're going to have to learn how to be more proactive and take it seriously. And I think, there's some cases where they're starting to do that now, and take it seriously when there's a threat or something like that. But that's got to be the standard. When somebody presents and gives you that window of opportunity to say, hey, you know what? I think this person's unstable. I think they might do something. We've got to get out there and make sure that, and the standard protocols. I mean, you have somebody with homicidal, suicide ideation, you make sure that they don't have access to weapons. You make sure they don't have access to sharp objects. You make sure the medication is put up. But in this case, making sure that they don't have access to weapons. And if they can get access to weapons, that person that they get the weapon from, or the situation where the responsible adult that they get the weapon from, they have to be kind of charged too. This is going to be a team effort. This is going to be a community effort. It's going to be a country effort to change this narrative. And I've been had it, man. I mean, I worked in these school environments. It's gut wrenching. It's horrific. I've had to respond to a couple of the Uvalde situations. I couldn't go to Uvalde and talk to those parents. God bless those that could do it. But I couldn't go to those parents and give them false hope, and in terms of what's going on with this legislation, we're going to have to make some changes. And I think their anger, their despair, their frustration is exactly what these politicians need to be dealing with. And they need to be in their face every day, they'll make the changes and putting some teeth into this gun control legislation. Because it's, from what I see with the red flag laws, they're just paper pushed, legislation. Some of it may be effective, but I think, what was it, the last shooting, the person, it wouldn't have addressed him at all. I mean, he was 21. I forget which one it was now. So many.
Was that the one in Highland Park?
I think that was it. Yeah, where he was over the age of 18.
Right, but they found out his dad sponsored him to get that gun.
Exactly. Yeah. So what would the red flag laws have done in that situation? He already had not just the red flag laws, but the legislation we took, if you have to be over 18 or 20, he was 21, he legally could get a weapon. And his dad, we're going to have to be more aware of our children's state. How many parents now let their kids just go disappear in that room with electronics, access to the Wi-Fi and God knows what. And, we're creating our own enemies, right now. And, people are saying, look at the mental health field, look at the mental health field. Look, I think that's a scapegoat, right? Yes, that's a part of the solution, but it starts literally in the home, right?
Right.
And that little thing that, I know some of us used to hear, I know I've heard it. I don't know, maybe you've heard it, that what happens in the home stays in the home, right?
Yeah.
But
you hit a point right there. The teachers are upset. So many parents think it's the teacher's job to raise their kids, but it starts at home. That's where it starts at. If Joey get this information from home and go to school and does crazy stuff, he's got it from home. So parents are also looking for a scapegoat, saying, my Joey, I'm just using the word Joey, my Joey wouldn't do that.
Why you got to use my nickname, man? Why you got to use my nickname? But that's okay.
Well, see, and they really feel that it's up to the school districts to take care of their kids. And I agree and disagree. It's the school to make sure the kids are safe. Educate the kids.
It takes a village, right? It takes a village, but it's not the village's responsibility to raise your child. It's not the village's responsibility to monitor your child at home. And that's where parents are going to have to, unfortunately, be held more accountable, but also given the resources and the awareness and the training on how to circumvent these situations before they get, to that level. I dare say a child doesn't do an act like that, or adult doesn't do an act like that just, right off the cuff. They take some time to prepare for that. Like, I think the guy in Buffalo, he came and he actually cased the scene, went there ahead of time, thought it out, got full armor on, you know, and had the nerve to video. What do you call it? What do you call that camera? The Go camera,
Good
whatever.
go camera, yeah.
Yeah, you know, so I mean that you talk about preparation. I mean, this guy he was crazy, but he wasn't stupid. And you know, we got to appeal at all levels, intellectual, emotional, spiritual, whatever
Yeah.
we can to, you know, get these folks to realize before they get to that point to where they're going to go out and do something horrific. And we've got to have some deterrence. I mean, we're going to have to harden these schools. I know a lot of schools now, NISD here, they have law enforcement at the high school and middle school, but you know, what about the elementary school? You know,
Yeah. You know,
what about and you know, I'm not trying to be funny, but you got a police officer there. That's kind of, you know, that's good, but police officer has what, a handgun, maybe a shotgun.
yeah.
It's not. What's that going to do with an AR? What's that going to do with a M15 or M16? We're going to have to maybe train law enforcement. I think somebody else at the pool the other day, and this guy was saying, yeah, maybe we need to have our police officers, all of them have, you know, AR or something, MP5, something that can combat, you know, someone coming in with the weapon of choice of these terrorists, you
Yeah.
know, these domestic terrorists. You know, you can't pull out a handgun and somebody's got an AR. What are you going to do with that? You know, that's what
What's the
happened
old
at
saying? You bringing a knife to a gunfight.
pretty much.
Yeah.
And that's what happened in Buffalo, right?
Yeah.
That guy was shot, but he had armor on. He was shot with a handgun, then he turned on and shot the security guard. So we're going to have to, you know, be smart. We're going to have to be, I don't know what we're going to do. I don't know, maybe, you know, utilize the National Guard at some of these schools. You know, I don't know. I don't know what we're going to have to do. But you know, I think the legislators, as a community, we're just going to have to demand change, and we're going to have to demand that our kids be protected in school. I mean, they even say that sounds crazy, to demand our kids are protected at school. And I don't think teachers should be the ones that have to do that.
Exactly.
You know, they have enough on their plate already, you know, with that.
It is 52 minutes after the hour on WSAN radio. We have Joseph Lee here from Impact Counseling and Consulting. Keith Scott just chimed in from KROV. He's watching.
Okay.
Yeah, that's my partner right there. We do things together.
How you
So
doing,
yeah. So I want to get to the mental health side of it. This is just my opinion, people. My opinion. Is it, to me, mental health? If he comes with a camera, body armor on, ready to go to war, how can they say that's mental health when he mentally stable could do all that? You know, he's sort of smart on what he's doing. And then you look at the other side of it. If it is mental health, some of the pharmaceutical companies, the medicine they push out, if you listen to the commercial, it says may cause suicidal tendencies. So is the combination with the medicine and their mental health, does that have a lot to do with that? Is that a breaking point that the medicine may push them over the edge?
You know, possibly. You know, possibly medication could have something to do with it, but definitely if you've been diagnosed with, you know, a disorder like schizophrenia or whatever diagnosis is in this DSM behind me, and a doctor prescribes medication for that, you need to stay on that medication, right? And you need to make sure that you have the right load of medicine in your system, and it takes a while sometimes for that to happen. But I think, you know, there's really no quick answer to how folks end up going on these rampages. You can still be mentally ill and put on that equipment, and go out and do all those things. We have a lot of mental illness in our society. But I think we have to catch these folks. To me, the solution is catching these folks, monitoring these folks before they get to that point, right? And a lot of times, you know, we can't just let, you know, Johnny or whoever go off to his corner and, you know, not monitor him. You know, pay attention to what they're playing, pay attention to their conversation, pay attention to the drawings, the journals, whatever. And we got to go back to that old school common sense. You don't really have any privacy when you're living in your parents' house in terms of certain things. Now, yeah, I granted, when you're in your room and you're changing clothes, whatever, that's one thing. But I know when I was younger, hey, my parents, would go through anything that I had, to check and make sure everything was good.
Yeah.
And we've got to do that, especially now with social media, because there's elements out there that are trying to cause issues, right? This is what's going on in social media. I've heard reports that people are actually calling for other Uvalde type situations. They're trying to entice people to do that. So we've got some very I think talk about that for mental illness, right? On the heels of one of the most horrific tragedies our country has ever seen, there's somebody out there crazy enough to try to get other people to do the same thing, and knowing there's vulnerable people out here that are open to suggestions. And I think that if anything we've learned in the January 6th, hearings, that people are susceptible to suggestion if they're not stable or if they're in a delusional state. And that's the scary.
Yeah, but
Say again?
we're talking about people that is very educated. So this not just no Joe Smo on the street. We're talking about people with degrees that
Hey,
could turn
listen.
around and they manipulate them to do things.
Well, let me tell you something. Education has it makes no difference in terms of mental illness. In fact, education and stress levels and what happens when you get educated, you have to go through the process and get your degrees, right? And a lot of times that can force or push someone to have mental illness, right? I think everybody with a master's probably has some form of OCD. Why? Because we're conditioned that way, right? You can't make certain mistakes. You got to perform at a certain level to get a master's degree. At least the program I was in, you couldn't get less than a B. So it forces you to be under a certain level of stress. Stress causes anxiety. Anxiety unchecked turns into things like depression. Depression unchecked turns into things like suicidal ideation and homicidal ideation. So, to say that, education, it should be a deterrent to mental health. I mean, that would be great. I mean, to mental health issues would be great.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is, people that are under a lot of stress, they're sometimes the ones that are most susceptible to mental health issues if they don't know how to manage it, right? So how often do we teach kids how to deal with stress, anxiety, depression, to deal with those type of things, and how to even be aware of mental illness? And that's one of the things that I'm charged to do is make people aware of, that everybody can have some form of mental illness at some point. The brain is a part of the body gets sick, so the mind can get sick, and that doesn't matter how much education you have. But I will say that the less educated, the more income deprived, you're more susceptible to that, because number one, you're under more pressure because you can't pay the bills. You don't have the adequate food in your system. So that can lend to a host of issues and triggers and things. So I think we just need awareness. Educated, uneducated, rich, poor, whatever. We just need to be aware of the signs of mental illness, suicidal ideation, homicidal ideation, and where to get help. Oh, I wanted to say this too. They have a new resources out there to help with suicidal ideation that you can dial 988 now, and you can get connected with someone to help if you're having a mental health crisis or issue. So 988 pound, I think, or it's not. I just know 988. You can dial that now and get help. So especially for the veteran military community, the veterans, I really am excited that that's an option now. It's something easy to remember. 988, and somebody will be there to kind of help walk you through and talk you through a healthier outcome, hopefully,
Right.
than suicidal ideation or suicide.
Okay, we're looking at top of the hour here on WSAN Radio. We have Joseph Lee here. And if you'd like to ask any questions, you could text the question to 210-461-8034. And Joseph, we have our first question from Charlotte.
Okay.
Uh, I think it's a good question.
All
She
right.
said, with all the counselors going out with grief and counseling people, what is their outlet? Listening to all the tragedy that happens, what is the counselors? I guess she put it, what do y'all do to? Basically, she said, what do y'all do after all that? How do y'all de-stress yourself?
Well, we do whatever we can. Well, to be honest with you, you kind of, those of us who go out to like situations for grief and trauma care, most of us learn how to compartmentalize, right? So we know how to go out there and kind of put our stuff on hold to kind of provide the services that we need to kind of help people to get through the grieving process, right? Or be aware of the grieving process and help facilitate it. But then afterwards, it's an individual thing. A lot of people, a lot of therapists, it's different. You ask 3 therapists, you got 3 different, responses on what they do to de-stress. The first thing I do is I want to come home and I want to hug my daughter, and it just makes me more thankful for the time that I have with my family, with my friends. It really gives me a different perspective of life when you realize how quickly it can be taken away. So, that quality time, I'm a big karaoke person. So, for me, getting out there doing karaoke, that seeing the joy and just that connectedness that comes along with, doing karaoke, getting out and socializing. Sometimes
Yeah,
just watching a movie, movies are great to escape reality, right? So, sometimes I do that, but working out, swimming, which maybe I need to do so much since my eye is irritated.
yeah,
But swimming is a great resource. I recommend that for anybody that's going through depression, anxiety, if you know how to swim. Because I tell you what, when you jump in the water, you really can only focus on that, right? So,
yeah,
and it's a great cardiovascular exercise. So depression, anxiety, those are things that we have to really try to treat and manage so that we can help others. Good question. I think it really depends on what relaxes you, and you have to be self-aware as a therapist, or when you're stressed out, or when you need help, or you're not going to be able to help others. So I try to stay aware of my mental health, and if I need to get away, then I might just go to my little theater room and put in a movie, and need a minute,
yeah,
watch a comedy, watch The Wiz,
yeah,
watch whatever. The Wiz, I highly like watching that, especially with my daughter. And getting her into the classics. But it's different for everybody. But we have to take the time to deal with our stress and anxiety so that we can help others. And any therapist out there going into therapy, I highly recommend that you have your own self-maintenance rituals that you do, so that you can heal, so you can help others.
yeah. The question I have, when you do go on a scene and you're down there to call, um, I will almost think, not knowing that a lot of it is you sit down and you listen to what they have to say, because to me, they're telling you what's going on, and I know your mind is wandering. Being a counselor, do you listen to them as much as you can before you jump in and start talking to them, or do you really sit down there and you listen to them to hear the hurt and their pain? So walk us through going on the scene. Exactly what do you do?
Well, it depends on what scene. I've been on a lot of different scenes where there have been active shooters that have that have killed someone. I've been on scenes where somebody's expired at work. So it really depends on the situation. I've arrived at scenes where people were killed, before they over the weekend, right? And they're dealing with that reality, so they call us in, or call me in for that. So it really is counseling in a one-on-one session is a little different. You definitely do a lot more listening in a one-on-one session. But when I'm dealing with a group, it's more or less a kind of like a psychosocial education session where you listen, but you also are letting people know what the grieving process is and what are some healthy things to do with the grieving process. And then you're making some recommendations on what they can do to help support the families, as well as, which allows them to help facilitate their grieving process. And each company is different. They have different protocols for a situation. So it's really, you kind of have to go with, a little bit what the protocol of the company is, but there are some general things that happen with every situation. So just making people aware of the grieving process, letting them know some things, the do's and don'ts in terms of grieving. Obviously, a lot of people like to go out and have a drink, right? When something bad happens. Well, that's really not the best thing to do because alcohol is a depressant. So if you're already depressed, then you take alcohol, which is a depressant. And the other thing that alcohol does is it affects your judgment. So not necessarily the best thing to do in a traumatic situation or a depressed situation is going drinking alcohol. I always try to think of something healthy to suggest. And, you go in and you obviously want to listen, you want to console, you want to offer an apology that this is going on. So there's a lot of different things you do. And a lot of it is rapport and experience. And a lot of it is not what you say, it's how you say it. And it's also just letting people know that they're going to make it through it. And to allow them to have their own individual grieving process, right? Because grief is different from everybody, and the grief process isn't linear. Some people go to anger faster. Some people stay in shock and disbelief longer. Some people go through the process a little differently. So giving people the opportunity to know that, hey, you're going to go through a process, and that's okay. Allowing them and almost giving them permission to grieve, because for guys, we like to bottle it up, right? We don't like to, show, especially when I deal with military personnel. We're trained to compartmentalize and move forward. I think our slogan when I was coming through basic training and all that, it was always forward, meaning that no matter what, we just keep on trucking on. But you've got to take that time to heal. You got to take that time to deal with what's being put back there, because guess what? It's almost like a storage bin. The more you put back there, eventually those boxes are going to come forward, and they're going to come forward in a time or in a way maybe you don't like it. Anger and depression, road rage, whatever, domestic situations, it can spill out in a lot of different ways if you don't manage grief, manage mental illness and things of that nature in a healthy way. So when I arrive on the scene, it depends on what I'm faced with. Some people are mad, at the company. If I've been at situations where there was an accident, a person expired at the company, and this is something that they've talked about for a while. So they're mad at management, mad at the company. And then I'm representing the EAP. So they at first maybe don't want to talk to me. Right.
Yeah.
Then generally they open up and they want to talk, and then a lot of times they want to talk about other things, other losses that they've had, because grief can be compounded, right? If you've had a loved one that you've lost, and then you come to work, and then somebody that you work with, which is another family member, right? Our people we work with are like family. They can have a deeper reaction or have a harder grief process, because it's just like tearing the scab off of an emotional wound that they're going through that again. So just being aware of their situation. Everybody's situation is different. Every company situation is different, but the grieving process is kind of consistent in terms of everybody goes through one, and you have to help people facilitate their own grief process.
I think you answered my next question I was going to ask you. I'm going to ask it anyway. There's a lot of depression really that comes around the holiday season. And it could vary from a loved one was lost at that time, and people remember that, and they sort of just get in this depression, don't want to talk to anybody. So the holiday season, is that normally a upswing with depression for everybody?
Very much so. Most therapists are trained to be aware of an uptick, especially around Christmas holidays and things of that nature for a host of reasons. And I would imagine, since us being in somewhat of a recession this year, uh, it's probably going to be a little bit worse, right? Anytime that you've had a loved one that has passed, the holidays are hard, for folks, for a lot of folks. That's a lot of times people, want to drink during the holidays, right? Then there's that alcohol again, right? So alcohol is a depressant. So you start thinking about a lot of things, and I don't know. Everybody talks about, I don't know. I heard about a lot of family disputes, right? During the holidays, you get your
Yeah.
family together, and then you add alcohol, and all of a sudden, aunt somebody gonna argue with uncle somebody. You know what I'm saying? That's sometimes the tradition, right? Unfortunately, we have dysfunction in our families, and
Yes.
just with the holidays doesn't mean that dysfunction is going to go away. In fact, it usually means that it's going to be enhanced. So yeah, holidays are a time, especially if people are alone or seniors are alone, that it can be a time of depression and angst. So you kind of have to look out for people, especially if someone has lost a loved one recently. The holidays can be really hard, and there's things you can do to kind of offset that. My grandfather years ago did something really brilliant when my grandmother passed away. We just left the house, man, and we went to Disney, right? We just got out of there. And, holidays, we usually did, my grandmother used to do a lot of the cooking. So we went out to, I think, like a hotel, like the Marriott, that had a spread. And we had everything that we would have had. But then we also had the social interactions too. And I thought that was pretty creative. So sometimes being creative, um, finding ways of dealing with, and you don't have to, we were blessed to be able to financially go to Disney at that time, but you don't have to do that. You can, do a staycation, just get out of the house, go to someone else's house for the holiday, right?
Yeah.
Get out of the situation that's going to cause you to continue to trigger you to be depressed or think about, whatever situation is making you feel sorrow or grief, right?
Yeah. When you said on family, there's always one person in that family that knows what button to push for a little bit of everybody in there. There's always one. And
Mhm.
I listen to people when they talk about that, and they say, do we have to invite them over? It's gonna be trouble. It's going to, do we have to? Yeah, we're family, but we've been going through this for 20 years. It's the same thing. They're not going to change. Should we invite them? Then I think that's where this other part comes. If you don't invite them, they're gonna come over anyway and be mad why you didn't invite them.
Yeah, yeah,
There's always one in every family. So everybody would say no, yes. I told my son a long time ago, we were driving down our neighborhood. I said, look at everybody's door. I said, well, for what, Dad? I said, look at everybody's door. I said, behind those doors, somebody has issues. It looks nice on the outside, but when you open it up, you find out, wow. And there's some people that's holding that inside, that is finally coming out with it, and they feel better because they bottle that inside. And with you being a counselor, when they unleash what's been on their mind for years, I think I know a couple people right now that they feel better about themselves. So that's one of the key and goals. What you do is for them to come out their shell.
yeah. Well, basically, what I say to clients a lot of times is you've got a lot of things that are taking up space in your head, right? And you need to evict the negative thoughts, forgive yourself, evict those things from your mind that aren't doing anything productive for you anymore, right? A
Yeah.
lot of people just put things in the back, just try to move on until they can't, until those boxes again come forward like a storage bin. Sometimes something triggers and then all this stuff comes out and depression, anger, anxiety, whatever. But yeah, and a lot of times really my job is to be a mirror, really, as a therapist, is to let you see exactly what's going on with you so you can make your own corrections and to work my way out of a job. I don't want to be working with you with the same thing for 4 or 5 months. To me, we've missed something in the treatment plan if I'm working with the same thing the same way 3 or 4 months, or the person isn't serious about doing the work. And I don't know about a lot of therapists, but I'll fire a client if you're showing up and we're still talking about day one stuff. Look, if you're not serious about your own success, then what you talking to me for? You know what I'm saying? So you've got to be ready to make the changes and forgive yourself and move on, or deal with what's going on and do the work, right?
Yeah.
So that's a part of it. And a lot of times people talking, they fix themselves. I just kind of help steer the discussion a little bit, but when they get past those layers, right? So on my logo, I have like 3 arches, right? And that symbolizes getting through those layers of issues. And sometimes people have to talk about it when they hear it. And you've done it too. I've done it. Well, once you talk about something, you go, oh man, okay, I get it.
Yeah.
The light comes on. And that happens in counseling a lot. Matter of fact, they call that a breakthrough, when they're talking and oh wow, okay, I see what I'm doing now, or I see the pattern, or I see what my mom or dad did years ago that has caused me to do this behavior. Then once they recognize it, then you can start setting up boundaries and things of that nature to make sure that they're not going to repeat that behavior.
So this quote that I keep with me on my sticky notes, what you just said, you can't help people if they don't know what reality is. Is that a fair quote right there?
Well, let me ask you a question, Ron. What is reality?
Is what you make it.
It is. Now, we got to put a little asterisk by that.
Yeah.
Because some people make some realities that aren't quite reality. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm watching these January 6th, committee hearings, and some people's version of reality is a lot different than my version of reality. But I know in this book, there are some people that are delusional. So if you have a delusional thought process, your version of reality is going to be a lot different. Now, what's funny is when you show people that they're delusional, sometimes just watching them convince themselves that they're right is amazing. So just watch some of those outtakes sometimes, and you'll see people like we have an excellent mental health exercise going on in this country right now. Excellent. There is a reality that happened on January 6th. There is a reality that happened up to January 6th. There's a reality that happened, and I've just thought about this. So let's back up before we're going to use Trump as an example of delusional, because he is, right? His own family member, who is an LPC, same as me, diagnosed him as delusional. And you know what? I don't know what doctor that Trump went to that did not diagnose him as delusional or unfit, but I think that doctor might have been delusional or unfit, right? Because you can't say that man was not delusional or unfit. But anyway, so do you remember when he was on that birther kick with Obama? Right.
Yes.
How long did he stay on that?
Oh, a long time.
So we elected him, not we, because I didn't vote for him, but people elected him after that situation with Obama. He demonstrated that he was delusional in that situation. So why are we surprised that he's delusional now? That he, is pushing these big lies. And, some people, if they say it so much, they even start believing it.
Exactly.
Right? So, you've got, but now, and I've said this before, right? I can't be mad at a person for being mentally ill, but I definitely could be mad at somebody who can see somebody that's mentally ill and then goes and support them to govern over you. Who's got the problem then? I mean, it's almost like being mad at a bird for flying, right?
Yeah.
It's going to fly. That's what it's designed to do. Trump is designed to be delusional. he's got some issues, and he's got enough money to insulate himself from getting the help that he needs. And he's got everybody kind of kowtowing to him. He's got a whole party kowtowing to him. So I guess his reality is a lot different than everybody else's reality. But I'll tell you what, democracy has a reality, and it's had a reality for a few hundred years now of what's supposed to happen after an election. And that didn't happen. There wasn't a peaceful transfer. I think one of his cabinet members cracked me up, man. He said they were working on his speech, and he said, "Well, now we need to focus on a peaceful transfer." And the guy said, "Well, you know, that boat sailed." And I was like, and he said it in a way that was funny.
Yeah.
But he was trying to let them know, look, man, you know, you're thinking you can recapture that. You blew it. You know, you incited a riot. So you can't say now that you want to do a peaceful transfer now after you waited for 180 minutes.
Yeah.
After, you know, you told people to go down the street and have, it's amazing to me, the level of delusional thinking and the number of people that are allowing themselves to be delusional. And you know what? History is going to record this moment. See, people think things are done in a vacuum, but I guarantee you in the next 10 or 15 years, some people are going to look back at their behavior, look back at what they were thinking and go, what was I thinking? What was I drinking? What was I smoking? Who was I talking to? But people got to understand something. And the listeners can look at this up. Look up groupthink. It's a psychological phenomenon that happens. And it happens in a movie, right? Give you a perfect example of it. You ever go to the movie theater and you watch something, and when you're in the theater, it happens and it's hilarious. You hurt your side laughing.
Yeah.
Then you come home and you see it, and it's like, that really wasn't that funny. Why did I think that was so funny in the movie theater? Because your mind operates a little different in a group.
Yeah.
Okay, so we got some delusional groupthink going on. We've got a lot of, things going on to what's created this mindset. But you know what, man, the world is watching, man. History is watching. There's some people that are going to be on the wrong side of history, a lot of them. And I don't know what they're going to tell their grandkids, I don't know what they're going to tell them. Mom, what did you do? Dad, what did you do when Trump was in office? Well, I voted for him. Okay, mom's going to the nursing home.
Yeah.
They've been crazy for a long time, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying that if you voted for Trump, you're crazy, but maybe you are. I don't know. Because delusional is what it is.
Well, now reality is setting in, because just found out that guy who used that pole on that policeman got sentenced to 5+ years. Yeah.
Bannon got indicted, right? And
yeah.
He might only serve a month, but I think that's a key. That's a key point, that the think tank that probably helped to facilitate and create January 6th, or at least lead Trump in that direction, possibly, is getting indicted, right? And from what I know about pre-law and what I know about law, it looks like I think, and it's a prediction, I think Trump is going to eventually get indicted, right? Yeah. I'm not sure, because there's some things that could happen in terms of if he decides to run for president again. That's going to make it more difficult to indict someone running for office. But I really like what the lead, I guess, prosecutor or whatever over in the Department of Justice said, that nobody's above the law. And I'm hoping that plays out that way, right? If a law was broken, which it seems to me it was, that people will get charged accordingly. Democracy is bigger than any one person or any group of people. It's bigger than that. Our role in this world as America is bigger than any group of people. It really sickens me what is going on with our country, with this country.
Yeah.
And for me, being a veteran, taking that oath of defending against enemies, foreign and domestic, I'm all veterans should be knowing what to do. Now, If they don't, I think we need to take a look at what oath you took and really evaluate where your mind is and where reality is, right? And
Yeah.
if you are circumventing democracy for some reason, what does that say about your values and who you are as a person when you already know what this country stands for and what it stands for in the world, or what it used to stand for? And we need to get back to that as quick as possible, and actually maybe even fulfill it for us, for people of color, at some point.
Yeah.
You know, we have always had a long way to go, and we take one step forward, and I'd say 8 steps back, right? And this is a huge step back, but people are watching about the Justice Department. People are watching how
Yes,
this
they
is
are.
going. And I'm going to tell you something, man. If the right thing doesn't happen, it's going to be hard to justify justice when it's just us that seems to get the short end of the stick. And I hate to, and that was from, I think it was Richard Pryor, or no, I think that was Red Fox that said that. He went down to the courthouse to see justice, and he just saw just us. Right?
Yeah, you were right.
And
It was Richard Pryor that said that.
it was Richard Pryor that said, I thought
Yeah.
it was Red Fox that said, oh, it was Richard Pryor. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Red Fox said that.
Yeah.
But or Richard Pryor. It's one of the great, one of the other greats, you know, that said it. But you know, that joke makes a point, right? You know,
yeah.
A lot, you know, we seem to not get away with anything, right? But you got somebody got away with insurrection and on the Capitol building, and he's still walking around. He's still talking. He's still talking about running for office. Got a problem with that, man.
Yeah,
I really do, and I don't think I'm delusional. I think that's reality. You know what I'm saying?
It is. So. It is. Well, Joseph, it's coming down to that time. Boy, that hour goes by real quick.
Man, that's been an hour.
Wow. Yeah, goes by real quick. And ladies and gentlemen, this is Joseph Lee from Impact Counseling and Consulting Service. He is on every Tuesday at 7:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. I was told to make sure I said Central Standard Time because I had a friend of mine in California said, I missed the show 7:30. I said, well, our 7:30 is different from your 7:30 over out west. So I'm glad he brought that up. I need to specify that. And I did change the flyers to Central Standard Time. He said that makes a lot of difference, so they know to get up a little earlier. But then I also told him that once the show is done, I edit it and I put it right back on again, which I'm going to do today.
Well, point of correction. It's Wednesday at 7:30.
Would that say Tuesday?
Said Tuesday.
Oh, man.
I don't want people tuning in and go, where's Joseph?
Yeah, Wednesday. Thank you, Joseph. Another correction.
Hey, listen, man, you know, hey, your heart's in the right place. You know, that for sure. So I appreciate this opportunity. Appreciate the opportunity to talk to folks and getting some good questions. And anything, you know, mental health related that I can answer, please continue to put those questions in, and I'll get the answers or get the answer for you, you know, the best I can. So.
Okay, Joseph. Well, I appreciate that. And until next week, we'll be talking offline anyway. Sometimes our best conversations when we're talking offline. I think one day I need to walk around my mic and record us talking and play it back. You will be amazed. Some of the stuff that we come up with, not really come up with, what we talk about. And it hits home when we do that. So that's what's going to happen now is to let everybody know the roundtable is coming back. We'll be doing the roundtable in the fall. So it is coming back, and everybody keep on asking, when's the roundtable? And Joseph is one of our panel members right there. So so that's coming. We're hoping towards the end of September, in the fall, because I want to do some stuff outdoors, which I'm not doing now because it's too hot.
So I'm out here right now, man. I got to get out here, get this eye checked out. I have to go to urgent care. So see what's going on, man. I can't be walking around wearing sunglasses all day. So
I hear you. All right, Joseph. Appreciate you coming on. You take care of yourself. We'll talk to you later. All right, bye.